You see it recording? Yeah. That's what the ding noise is.
Okay.
It's all flat.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Canty, and the title of my speech is Dying with Dignity. There's my ID card. Okay. I'm hoping that this speech will be thought-provoking and inspire you to support the legal right for every living person to have the right to die with the same sense of worth that they were born into. That any mentally competent person should have the right to accept or deny treatment and the right to die in dignity. Euthanasia is a topic that I will be speaking on, and again, hopefully persuading you to support. Just in case some of you are not familiar with the technical term euthanasia, another term that is commonly used is mercy killing or assisted suicide. The technical definition for euthanasia is a physician-assisted, painless killing of a patient suffering from an incurable or painful disease or in an irreversible coma. Again, let me restate that definition. It is the painless killing of a patient suffering from an incurable or painful disease or an irreversible coma. I hope the words incurable, painful, and irreversible resonates with you, because this is what's really significant in understanding the importance of this very controversial issue, the context of this definition. Someone who is at the point where their life is miserable and painful journey of every minute of their day, and fully aware of every pain and disease that is stricken their body. Or they may just be lying there, lifeless, living, not living, nor dying, just existing. And it is the family that has to watch their loved ones in a comatose or deteriorating condition day after day with no hope for recovery. And therefore that person or that person's family make the final decision to end their lives voluntarily because they are at that point in their illness that they feel their life is no longer worth living. According to Pew Research Center Forum on Religion and Public Life, euthanasia, the 44% favor assisting terminally ill patients with dying. 51% favored giving the terminally ill patients the means to end their lives, their own lives. As you can see, there's mixed views on this issue. Now, before we kind of jump on our high moral grounds, let's put this all in perspective. Have you ever watched a loved one's health deteriorate and there's nothing a doctor or you or anyone can do? Have you ever thought secretly, Lord, just please take them out of their misery? Have you ever walked into a nursing home or a hospital and saw someone laying lifeless in a bed, seemingly alive? You see their body, but it's as if their spirit has already departed. Why do we put animals to sleep when they're at the end of their lives and humans are left to suffer? Well, every day there's an individual or family with a very heart-wrenching issue. Tony Bland, 23-year-old, lived in England, huge fan of the English football. Decided to attend an intense football tournament that ended tragically and fatally for 96 people. 96 victims died or crushed to death against a steel fence. Tony was one out of the 96 who had suffered with severe injuries and stopped breathing. By the time his breathing was sustained, he was severely brain damaged in what they call the persistent vegetative state. He wasn't dead, nor was he dying. The hospital, with the support of his parents, requested the courts to allow him to die in dignity. Tony was granted the right to die in dignity and became one of the first patients in English history to die prior to a prolonged treatment. In 1992, Dr. Cox was found guilty of the murder of a 70-year-old woman who begged him to take her out of her misery. He stated that she was so ill that she would scream like a dog if anyone touched her. He also stated that she would repeatedly request to die until he finally injected her with potassium chloride that would bestow upon her a peaceful death. Sue Rodriguez, a mother in her 30s who was dying slowly of Lou Gehrig's disease. She lived for several years knowing that each one of her muscles, one by one, would slowly start to shut down, and she would consciously choke to death. She begged the courts continuously to allow her doctor to assist her in choosing the moment of her death. They refused, and she continued to live her life in a full dreadful fear as she experienced her body shut down day by day. Until 1994, she eventually found a doctor that would break the law to help her die in peace. Again, this is a very controversial issue. Therefore, there are many pros and cons that we must tackle with. Those that argue against euthanasia believe that we should try to preserve the human life, that God should be the only one that's able to take a life. In the Christian religion, it's a form of suicide, specifically stated in the Ten Commandments that thou shalt not kill. They also believe that some people will make the wrong decision, that deceitful family members and doctors may persuade that person to take their own lives against their will. Those that argue for euthanasia believe that the terminally ill should be able to end their lives in dignity, and we should respect their choice. We should let people end their lives amongst their loved ones, and that huge financial burden of prolonging their life is lifted off that person and that person's family. I understand that some people oppose this due to their religious beliefs and their moral standards, and even some physicians are opposed to actually performing this act. However, there are just as many people that support euthanasia as an entitlement of every human should have a legal right to. So many of you are probably questioning, what does this act entail? Well, it's administered. It's administered of lethal injection. The same painful lethal injection that ends the life of a person on death row. Except painless killing of the individual on death row is legal. But many seem to be baffled over this question. And a prominent question it is. Why is capital punishment legal and euthanasia not? How is it that a person that has done nothing wrong cannot decide when and how they die? You have probably already assumed that the evidence to support euthanasia would not be debated, but needs to be debated for much longer than 10 minutes. And it will probably be many years before this issue is ever settled. However, I would like to leave you with a final thought. Are we really preserving life, or are we prolonging death? Thank you. Now, show my audience, please. And it's record, right?